Okay.
Well, I would think we took that literally that you were gonna call, so.
I can.
Yeah, Mark and I called the Village Board, Plan Commission and Public Works and Utility Committee meeting to order at 5:51. You want to do a roll call of all three?
Sure. So we've got Commissioner Kurt Lesser,
Here.
Commissioner McCormick,
Here.
Committee Member Miller,
Here.
Commissioner Howard,
Here.
Commissioner and Committee Member Eberly,
Here.
Inspector Ilhoffen,
Here.
Trustee Baum,
Here.
Trustee Beal,
Here.
Village President Gerke,
Here.
Trustee Moonen,
Here.
Planner Sumwalt,
Here.
Administrator Green,
Here.
Committee Member Pless,
Here.
and Clerk Capazzo to record the minutes.
Right, so we're on to unfinished business, discussion of the continued open discussion regarding the long-term development planning related to the possible areas to include in future expansions of the sewer service area. Tom, do you want to start? I mean, were we happy with the way it went last time? I mean, as far as moving things along, or do you have any better ideas, Mark?
Can we get a recap? I think some of the
Sure.
members, most of the members were here last time, but can we just get a recap
Or
of
just,
why we're having a second?
Dan,
meeting?
did you want to kick anything off or is this working? Did you want to have any kickoff comments or not, or?
If
otherwise,
you want to get
I can
started,
jump right into
Yeah.
it. By the way, is it a hard stop at 6:30 or is that?
No.
Or is that the goal? Is that?
That's
Everybody-
AM.
I'm kind of I'm hungry, so I just was just asking. Yeah, again, this is sewer service areas. It's what goes before sewer pack. It's a 20-year plan. It provides lands the opportunity, but not the obligation for sewer service. So, commensurate with the comp plan that Orrin is performing, we're looking at updating, consolidating, adjusting the existing sewer service areas that you've established with sewer pack. You also have lands that are sized for Sussex treatment plant. So just cleaning all that up. And we're going by focus area. We're calling them 1 through 5, counterclockwise around the village. We went through 1 and 2 last time, and it took, I think, 3 hours to do that. So we're doing 3 more tonight. So hopefully it won't take that long. I think focus area 3 is probably going to be the most detailed, and that's the. I don't know if Orrin, do you have the focus area map? Maybe not. But the focus areas, again, 1 was the Richmond School area, 2 was an existing area on the western side of the village. That one really quick. There was no changes there. The northwest part is focus area 3, which we're going to start with tonight. 4 is the old Lisbon Sanitary District number 1 in the northeast part. And then 5 is the very southeast section of the village. So if we can get through, we'll take them as they come. Hopefully we can finish all 3 tonight, but we'll start with 3, like we said. If there's time, we'll keep going. On the map, everybody got there is the focus area map.
Sorry for the delay.
Yeah. So I assume everybody's got the packet for tonight and the memo, which I kind of rehashed what we're looking for in terms of what I just said. Areas that we want to include there are what if it's the intent to have sewer service areas, if there's densities that dictate that, undeveloped lands. I think the discussion last time really kind of focused on undeveloped lands. It seemed to be, and then also addressing the the Richmond School issue that we just talked about. So I think that was kind of the focus. Although another subset of the discussion was septic systems don't last forever. So some of the older areas, it's kind of nice to have it in a service area if there is a problem or a consensus, but again, it's not the obligation. But again, I think the focus was new areas, and I'll turn it over to Orrin here in a second. He'll talk about maybe some of the history of prior developments that were in the subject focused areas. So with that, I guess, in terms of a recap, does anybody have any questions or, and overall picture capacity wise at the treatment plant, you've got roughly 900,000 gallons a day average flow. You're using about 100,000 gallons. So I wouldn't focus too much on flows tonight. You really don't have an issue with flows. And if there are at the end, what we'll do is, once we're done with all these focus areas, we'll compile all of the areas that you would like to have within a 20-year plan, compile those flows, and then reconcile any of the capacities and go over if there's any issues at that time in a summary report. Then we can talk about staging at that point. Maybe we'll have to revisit. It might be an iterative process. If for example, you come up with, 1.5 MGD that you want to do in 20-year period on an exaggerated scale, then we'd say, well, maybe let's look at staging that with sewer pack and just saying, hey, well, just these realistically are the areas. Because sewer pack likes to see that the land uses and then the flows that we generate from those land uses, there's typical factors we use. They like to see that those flows match with what the capacity is at the treatment plant. They match with the conveyance facilities. And we'll talk about those as we get to the individual areas. With Richmond School area, it was pretty easy. There's a 15-inch stub sticking out, ready to serve the Highway K corridor. In focus area 3, there's an existing sewer that's stubbed out, but there's no capacity downstream in the Bugland sewer with Sussex. So there's those issues that we'll have to iron out, but starting with the land use side of things, what are the areas? What's the vision of the village? How you'd like to develop the potential areas?
Tom, I know at last meeting, we did a good job of reiterating, and unfortunately, some people missed the message. This meeting, of this combined meeting is in no way intending to put sewer down anybody's throat unwillingly. We're not here to ram sewer down anybody's throat. Can you elaborate on that, just so we don't get
Correct.
deep in the meeting?
Correct. As I alluded, it provides the opportunity, but not the obligation. Sewer pack doesn't, for example, take this approved map that we come up with and say, all right, what's your time frame? When are you putting the sewer in? They don't do that. They are an arm of the DNR. So any extensions of sewer is all within the purview of the village board, initiated by the village board, and applications for any of the sewer extensions would go to the DNR, and then as part of the application, it goes to sewer pack. And this is the vehicle to which they review these sewer extensions. That's it. That's kind of the beginning and end of the story. So the DNR relies on sewer pack. It's called the 208 area. It's a federal code reference that they're just as part of their overall water quality management plan. They're the gatekeepers for that water quality management plan, and making sure that communities aren't planning to sewer the whole village. And well, you don't even have any capacity at Sussex, for example, or, so they're the ones that make sure when the DNR gets that sewer extension, they don't have to look at the sizing or the capacity necessarily of how it's going to get served. So to answer your question, to reiterate, no, it is the village's prerogative to extend any sewers.
Just stress that, I guess. I mean, obviously, we guess.
Yeah, we know it, but I don't,
Questions from,
So I think we're ready to dive into area 3 then.
Yes. So area 3 is at the northwest end of 164. Sorry for all the colors on the map. They start to blend in after a while, but maybe just to get your bearings. At the very southern end of the map, just north of the railroad tracks, you'll see a green line. That is an existing 15-inch sanitary sewer that was put in. I'm not sure at this point when it was put in. It was, but it was installed in advance of reconstruction of 164. So whenever that was, and then there's a force main in yellow that was also put in that can discharge into that gravity sewer. That basically right now is an empty sewer. And then it is connected to what's known as the bug line sewer. And that is a 27-inch interceptor that flows to the Sussex treatment plant. Yeah, when Dan and I met with village staff about the kickoff of the study, and by the way, all these efforts that we're going to summarize as part of this has to be applied to sewer pack by Sussex. They have to do that on your behalf, being the receiving body. So gave them a heads up, we were doing this effort, and they did confirm that they acknowledged that this was in and that there is no contractual capacity today to be able to use that bug line sewer. Just anecdotally, it's a pretty big sewer and there's not much flowing to it though. So I think it would just needs getting way ahead of ourselves now. If you were to do an extension, if you got some flow planned for there and you want to do an agreement with Sussex on conveyance, then it would need to be looked at. There's ways that you put flow meters in, you check how much it's being used. It would be done in concert with Sussex, and so park all that for now. But anything that you could do, you would need that conveyance approval. Again, you have the treatment plant capacity. And as another side note, in talking to them, we brought up the idea if at the end of this, if necessary, if there's any horse trading that needs to be done. They didn't say no. They didn't say yes either, but they didn't say no. So I think that's when we get to the end of this, you'll see that the predecessors, I think through the various agreements, the cooperative boundary agreement, the various agreements through the years, had visions of where the village, then town, would develop sewer, and that just hasn't happened. So back to focus area 3. So in purple, dark purple is the existing sanitary sewer service area. So that has already gone through the sewer pack process. So really what you need to at least, need to decide tonight, but it would be good to have certain direction on how you want to go with either amending that, adding to it, to the northwest, or to the east. There's some existing subdivisions there to the east between Sussex and the purple line. The magenta line, the purple and the magenta, I'll call it, the pink line. The pink line is everything that can flow by gravity to that 15-inch sewer and or the presumed lift station at the end of that force main. So that overall pink line is what we envision as either a gravity or a pumped. And when I say pumped, when you look at the very northwest portion of that basin, sewer shed, if you will, is Genesee Aggregate, and they had submitted a request to the village early spring to be considered for sanitary sewer service. One thing on that map is we're not showing all the Genesee Aggregates land. They do own the sliver, where Oren's showing the hand. I don't know. A lot of that's primary environmental corridor to the southeast, and then Oren, I don't know what they use.
They own all the way over to Lake 5,
Lake 5, okay.
all the way up to the river.
So I don't know that they stipulated what they wanted served, or with what, or what kind of development, or,
No,
okay. So that, they've talked about some concepts, Dan, I think, with what they may reclaim that with, but nothing's
Yeah.
been decided on.
I mean, I don't know any specifics, but they definitely are interested in, reclaiming and developing in the near future. That's
Okay,
to the extent that I know, and not necessarily residential, maybe other uses besides that, so.
okay. So we have a placeholder flow in there, low density residential. It could be, if it was light industrial, for example, a lot of those cases, that flow is actually less than residential because it's just, a couple of bathrooms and storage, dry storage so, overall, in terms of capacity, we've generated based on the land uses, in this area, current land uses and just a placeholder number for Genesee aggregate, we come up with about 1.6 MGD per day average flow. And that's just, a 15-inch at minimum is about 1.6 MGD. So coincidentally, you've got, I think that pipe's even got more slope than that. You're probably getting about up to 3 MGD, I think, peak flow in there. So I said average flow, it's 1.6 peak flow for the whole area that you see on the land use map in pink and purple. So you've got the conveyance capacity of what you have in the ground already. It's just a matter of what's your vision for this area. And at that, I'll turn it over to Oren. Oren, if you want to maybe talk about some historical developments, if that's relevant, if you want to do that.
Can I ask a clarification?
Sure.
Just to clarify the existing versus proposed, you're saying that it looks like from Plainview down to roughly Howard, there's nothing there, correct?
Good hope.
Is it Good Hope?
I think you said earlier, you said existing, and I think we're thinking you meant to say potential.
The purple line was the service area approved back in 2008, I believe.
You're talking about the green,
Yeah, we're
the
talking-
green line along 164.
Not the green line. I'm talking, the purple line was what Sussex agreed to for these
The
super.
green line is
service.
potential sewer.
It goes down to Good Hope, and up to Plainview and, does not include any residential at that time, any, developed sites. It was all open land.
So we're talking this line here.
Yeah, so that's
Oh, I'm
potential
sorry. I thought I
sewer
was talking about the service area.
with the black dots is potential and then the regular green is existing. So down by I think it's the bug line trail, there's that little green one that is existing. And then the dotted green all the way up to Plainview is potential sewer.
Hard to follow.
Yeah, it's depending on your printer too,
So there's only pipe south of Good Hope.
Because I didn't think they had taken it all the way up to Plainview.
Right,
No.
okay, all right.
But is that yellow line that extends from the green line at the tracks? Is that yellow?
that goes to the,
Goes up to, it goes as
green-
far as Good Hope.
There's a gravity
Septic
sewer
tanks.
down to that's
It was,
down to where what's underneath the road.
there wasn't any running to Lisbon at that point, when they
That's
reached
right.
164.
By the overpass on 164.
It's at Good Hope. Sussex ends at Good Hope, and that's where that was put in.
Tom, from my understanding, that existing Lisbon force main, is that not connected to Sussex's main?
it's connected to the green mains.
Okay, but there's no direct connection to Sussex's system?
Well, it goes to the bug line, but my understanding, there's no flow in that.
It was put in 20 years ago and it hasn't been used at all.
Yeah.
That's really okay, that's the gist of it.
Right.
It's
And
good
then-
planning if it gets used, but if it sits there for 20 years, I'm not sure how great that planning that was. Okay, so we have that clarification. So I mean, I guess the easier part, less controversial part, I know it takes a while to get there, but is the Genesee aggregate portion, which, I mean, to me, I think staff's recommendation, your recommendation, and makes sense to me is that would be included and I see a case could be made for that light industrial versus residential there. It's isolated enough, where it wouldn't affect really existing residential there. I don't know if anyone disagrees with that, but the more controversial portion would be everything to the south of Plainview.
I think the east of the existing sewer service, approved service area, those houses are not that old and they're already all developed. And the intent was at the time that was sewer service area was approved was that it would only include undeveloped lands. And I think we're going to have a hard time selling this to, even though I know you said it's not obligated, people are not gonna see it like that. And even though you say it's not obligated, the village board down the road could say, we need to recoup our costs, you're hooking up.
You know, that big blue square that's off on the south side of Plainview is owned by the school district. Does anybody know what the status of their plan is for that area? Do they have a plan other than the fact that they own that piece of property?
Isn't that by Fry Farm? Well, Fry Farm is north of it.
Yeah, I talked to them,
South of Plainview, and they're gonna be out of school space
Yeah.
with these last couple of subdivisions Sussex is putting in. And that Newman companies are developing in Lisbon is just going to overflow the Hamilton district.
300 lots that the village of Sussex is approving tonight, so.
I guess Lisbon's, the Newman developments in Lisbon would be going to Arrowhead, so that wouldn't affect Hamilton, but Sussex's would.
I think, one of them's Hamilton, one of them's Arrowhead, right?
Yeah, I think, isn't it west of Richmond Road Arrowhead?
West of like,
Part of it is.
west of like five.
It's not a block,
Okay,
it's
but that way.
all this.
Because north of that property is also Fry Farm, I believe, and his property.
Well, all I'm saying is anybody had a discussion with the Sussex school system about that piece of property they own? Do they have any near horizon plans for that?
I mean,
I don't see any reason, it's already in the sewer service area. It's shown on here. I'm just wondering if anybody has made any mention from the school standpoint regarding that property. The other blue gob down here is the church, so that doesn't amount to much. But that property that's owned up there, which is probably what, 40 acres, is it's gotta stay in, I mean, in one way or the other, I don't see any reason to take anything out of what is shown on the map as the existing sewer service area.
For background, I mean, the purple area and how it's oddly shaped, I mean, that was, I think we did a survey and asked, I mean, property owners if they wanted to be included or didn't want to be included. Yeah, you remember that as well, Sherry?
So that's why I
So-
said it was pretty much, it was pretty much it was designed that way to capture the undeveloped lands. And I think the only existing one that opted in was, the Saddle Club. Even though
So-
that's not a residential.
At that point, so 15 years ago, the school district opted in for that parcel and
Well, yeah, I mean, it only makes sense. That's the only way they could develop that whole thing, so. I mean, if you look at the cadastral map where the lots are, what Sherry's saying is represented on here, all the existing development was excluded, everything else was included, which makes sense. And,
I think that's terribly short-sighted.
at this, from a planning standpoint, it doesn't make any difference if it was squared off one way or the other. That doesn't mean that those large lots are gonna be, I mean, are gonna be sewered. They're just in it, just this haphazard line of this purple, just normally they're squared off. And it doesn't make any sense one way or the other. So whether or not one of those long lots, as an example, coming off of the south side of Plainview or ever divided into something else, so be it. It would just, quite frankly, if this purple line was adopted, it is adopted, it exists today. If one of those long lots off the south side of Plainview ever wanted to be served by sanitary sewer, there wouldn't be a problem getting them in the sewer service area. It would take a 2-paragraph letter and it's done. It's not that big.
Talking about the developed ones over here.
I'm talking about this stuff here or any of these long ones in through
Yeah,
here.
these are developed, this stuff isn't. That's why
Right.
it goes around those.
Right. this is the new subdivision that went in
Right,
just
yeah,
northwest of
yeah,
you,
that-
that's,
Mhm.
that's gonna be what it's gonna be. So, I mean, I don't see any problem with the existing purple line that's there, leaving it intact the way that it is, because the little stragglers that are out there can always be included if necessary in the future. As the chairman correctly states, in my opinion, the only thing we need to deal with is the stuff that Genesee Aggregates got, that they show up in there, those three quadrants up and through there, from the Bark River southeast.
Would it make sense to square it up at the corner of 164 in Plainview? There's kind of notches, instead just make that line go straight through to one sixty-four?
They all would, I mean, in reality, at the end of the day, it doesn't make any difference. I understand why, for whatever reasons, it was why it is what it is shown today. But if you just drew the line straight over and down to hillside, it wouldn't make any difference.
No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about 164 and Plainview. And then if you go east,
Like a residential property right on that corner, that's what you're talking about?
yeah, so
On the-
there's
on the
like.
Northeast,
there-
northwest corner?
By the number 3, number 4, there's little notches. Would it make sense to just go straight over? and
Right,
not
it-
Have those notches.
In all practicality, it doesn't make any difference. If we wanna draw that purple line all the way down Plainview, and to the corner of Hillside in Plainview, including those corners, lots up in there, it wouldn't make any difference.
Tom, do you agree with that?
Well, I guess I'm trying to understand what you was, it wouldn't make any difference to just do that now, include that in there, or?
It's a horse
Yeah.
apiece. If for whatever reason somebody doesn't wanna change it, I don't have any problem with it. What I'm saying is, practically, it doesn't make any difference whether that line runs all the way down Plainview and eliminates those notches that are in there. The same thing on the west side of Hillside. It doesn't make any
Yeah,
difference.
From
'cause if there-
From
Huh?
Sewer standpoint, they don't like these one-offs, they don't, I think Joe, you alluded,
Yeah,
it's a letter. They could
Yeah.
do it at a quarterly meeting if you needed to. I mean, what I'm hearing is leave the purple line alone.
right.
That's number one. And the question would be, would you amend it for some of these piano key lots?
Right.
So,
It doesn't make
yeah.
any difference. If for,
The sewer pack would
For-
let them go in as an amendment
Right.
at the time. that
because
if-
it's
if they
across the
would come in.
street, you're able, normally
Yeah.
the policy always was, if you're within 800 feet, I think the number was 800 feet, if I remember my old age, 800 feet of a line, you're in.
So
It
if we
doesn't-
left, if I'm understanding, if you left this purple line as it was and say one of these lots here started failing, they could do an amendment and
yeah.
put in without having
Yeah.
to go through this whole,
It,
and leave the line
it
as
would
it is.
take a week and it'd be done.
Yeah.
It's 2 paragraph letter. I've written enough
Yeah,
of
that-
I
them.
mean, if that's correct, that's the path of least resistance. I mean,
Yeah.
so Songbird Hills, what are the Songbird subdivision, my color, or my interpreting of the color is not the greatest. Is that in purple? Is that in the existing area or is that
It's
not?
outside of the existing area, but I think it's in their proposed pink area.
Okay, all right, so
This is-
so that would be,
Right, this right here.
Would be pumped.
that's a similar question to the area to the east of the existing area.
That is that's not a 1 lot or 2 lot deal. That would be a major amendment to add that back in if it wasn't included now.
That box on the right side
Okay,
of Genesee
right.
Aggregates.
Okay.
Right north of the golf course.
okay, gotcha.
So Joe, are you saying that it doesn't matter if we go straight down Hillside because all the lots to the west of Hillside are close enough to the sewer service area that those are simple amendments?
Yes,
Okay.
and let's say the magic word, for PR reasons, if it's gonna upset a couple of people, leave the darn thing where it is. It doesn't matter, is all I'm saying. But when you get up to that subdivision that's north of the golf course, that's significant. That would be more of a issue to try and get them in if we didn't put them in initially.
Even if I'm gonna use the wrong analogy here, the flow or piping or sizing was adequate to add that at the time?
Yeah,
They
because
needed
you still have to do an amendment, because there's what, 40 lots in there?
Right, I
That-
understand you
yeah.
have to do an amendment, but if
The pipe would be that subdivision the flow from that subdivision isn't going to determine the pipe sizes all the way down to the.
That's what I'm saying. That's not gonna have, that's what my point is. It's
Right.
not gonna have an effect on what the
It's not
decision
like the
made.
issue we had over on Silver Spring.
Okay,
and
that's what I
Kay.
was trying to get
Right,
to.
I know what you're trying to do, so I'll just say it.
So even if that would have to be, if it was eliminated and we just capture the vacant lands in focus area 3, it could be with a little bit of work added at some point if that subdivision starting having failures.
Right. If I were doing this, and this is only me talking, I would put them in. Because it's easier to have them in and never use them than not have them in and have to change it in the future. This is not like what we were talking about in the other areas, and we don't wanna bring that up again and spend all night here. All I'm saying is this is a different case. I think they should go in, but I'm not going to beat my chest up and down at whether they're in or out.
Let's go ahead, Jane.
Do we know what size lots are in that little subdivision?
They're probably
Or which one?
1 acre,
One,
Or maybe slightly less than an acre if
Yeah.
I'm guessing,
1
right?
acre density probably.
Right, that's probably more likely.
3/4.
You're talking, which,
Yeah, Oren's zooming in there right now.
These are 1 acre lots down here. So I would say those are
0.8.
pretty close to 1 acre. If you're looking.
it should be 1 acre.
0.75.
These are,
Someone said,
these are
north-
1 acre.
south of the golf course,
Similar
right?
to, okay, yeah,
Yeah.
I'd say they're
They're
probably
like-
1 acre.
They're actually less than an acre. 0.7, 1, 0.83, they're all under.
They're all small lots.
Then I think that we should include that in the plan.
Tom, you have numbers on here, 1, 2, 3, through 11. Are,
Those correspond to a computation sheet.
Is that in
So that's how we generated the flows.
so does 1 include that
Yeah,
the golf course subdivision there?
yeah,
That's fine.
includes the flows, include that area.
Right, what's, it's an interest of trying to work through things, so everyone's in, am I hearing that there's a consensus on, area 1, the Genesee aggregate area? Well, let's deal with, to the east of 164 separately, but on the west of 164, everyone agrees that that should be included in the sewer service area.
But that's gonna require a pump, right? That's a pumped area.
You're
Right.
gonna need.
Well,
a
that's
pump
what I want
for
to
that
talk
whole
about, is
anyway.
area 11. And maybe this is already there, but the topography, I'm just looking at it just on my map and the topography. Because you're talking a pretty steep grade on that hill, and I think that this map was done that, is all of these, that's in the purple, the magenta line on 11, able to be, gravity, or does it have to be pumped? Because
We haven't seen the final restoration plan for Genesee Aggregates property, and some of it goes in different directions.
Talking.
No, I'm talking about here.
All the residential
They're
area.
going down, because basically that's where the.
It all runs downhill. So
So,
top of the hill, you know this better than I do, you live up there.
Yeah.
This all runs right into Howard Lane.
so I've got no by number 11 though.
Right, so
Yeah,
I wrote no by 11. Is
Right,
that-
so let's go back and forth. So Tom, so you have this, let's just explain your map a little bit better. So you have in
Sure.
areas here that are labeled as gravity sewer and pumped areas. So the cross hash is the pumped areas. So they would have to be pumped out to some point, and then it would be gravity fed once it got.
To the green sewer, yeah, the green
sewer.
gravity, yes. And then it need to be pumped again in the orange area to the green sewer on the bottom.
Are you talking like?
This hasn't been designed, by the way, that's just based on,
lift pump.
topo.
Lip pump.
Limp pump.
So can I ask a question? Like especially east of Hillside on Plainview, why does the line jag down?
Because of topography?
Where is this?
Yeah, so right, that section where 11 is,
Oh, yeah.
go north a little bit from there.
Mhm.
Why does that line within our municipal boundary jag?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of step,
That's right at the top of a hill.
right, so why don't we have it serviced by a pumped area?
Well, because that can get by gravity down to 164.
So how come north of the line, we don't have a pump area?
Well, I mean, you could keep going, I guess, it's just, this is the area where you can have the most cost-effective service. Where we looked at the pumped area, though, that's where they requested sewer service. So, if you desire to have lands developed, north of Plainview even, we could consider that, but
Okay, so yeah, the
it's that
response
balance,
there-
it's that balance of what pipe size you have, versus the flow you have. And, Mark, to answer your
everything-
question, you could straighten that line, yes.
You could, you could expand this, but everything here is
We could do that.
either gravity fed or it's pumped based on the request of the property owner.
Right,
It's one of those two.
right.
Well, except for the Songbird subdivision.
Yeah, and going north, just
True,
FYI,
yes.
living up there is that, if you were to go north of Plainview, is that the pipe is gonna go downhill and then back uphill, so there'd have to be somewhere in that at the, at the valley where you'd have to have a pump, because then you're going back up a pretty steep grade.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Okay.
We,
Go to pump station.
I mean, the pink line is the literal sewer shed divide. So, yeah, in hindsight, that could very easily, Mark, go straight across down Plainview, And you wouldn't probably cut that you would have a little pumped area to just get over that divide,
Right, so I guess what I'm saying is, why don't we square off Plainview and the village limits to the east, where I think that's the Frantel property? Why don't we just go to that property?
Mark, are you saying for section 11, take that all the way north to Plainview and all the way east to the village limits?
Right, kind of by where Sussex, that's one property east of or west of the Sussex pump area.
But is that the same debate then of why are we or are we not squaring off?
Yeah.
So
I guess, I think he kind of alluded to it, the customer or potential customer requested the shaded area where Genesee Aggregate currently lies, and that's why it was included. Is that a correct statement? Like in.
to the northwest, yeah.
To the northwest of
Yeah.
Plainview 164?
if we're gonna keep 3 and 4 out, then we keep out that area you're talking about.
But on Kathleen
We're
Avenue
gonna
there,
include those, yeah.
that line
Right, that's
is right
right.
on the hill. It goes 5 properties up and that's the top of the hill on Kathleen Avenue. Starts going downhill towards Plainview. So that's right where the 5th house is, up where that notch goes in the middle. So you'd have to do force down there. Right here.
Yeah, the physics is not in the favor of gravity right there.
That's why that subdivision is not fully in because there's a hill.
So if we just go and square off, say, just use Plainview as a reference line. If we square off that versus the approved boundary right now, what does it mean to people? I mean, are those people on Plainview south of the line, should they be worried that sewer is coming? I mean, what is the benefit of doing it today or not doing it?
The benefit of doing today would be is if ever in the future, the village board decided to go ahead with sewer, this step would be out of the way. And, this step, once you submit it to sewer pack, can take anywhere from 3/4 of a year to a year, depending on where their quarterly meetings hit. So
How does that reconcile with it being a 2-day amendment or a quarterly amendment that we talked about earlier?
I think if it's a one or two lot off, and then you could amend it. I don't know.
There is a size
It-
limitation to what they want to approve. And it has to do with the number of acres. So I think there's only so much of an area that they'll take into consideration for an amendment.
Yeah, I haven't seen that number, but yeah, that would be the caution is if you get too big of an area, they say, wait a minute, that wasn't in your plan, that versus a one or two lot, request. So that'd be the downside.
I agree with Mike. I don't
Excuse me.
understand why they did this originally. To me, it should have just been straight line.
Gravity.
Oh, I know that, but Wooded Hills has a lot of gravity going and everything else and same thing, same principle.
So to go backwards, the dark area is the approved sewer pack. I mean, that
Dark purple, yeah.
dark purple.
Yeah.
And I wasn't on the board or commission at the time, but was there a survey done to individual?
Yes.
Yes.
So, I mean, for instance, just west of the institution property, there's a 38-acre parcel. There's
That's where the hills
a
are.
10-acre parcel and like a 2-acre parcel and then another 10. those people just didn't want to be in?
Yes,
Correct.
Okay.
it was to exclude at the time developed residential property. So it was to include undeveloped lands, especially where this is all high groundwater and wetlands. You're not gonna get a septic system approved in most of this area. And that's why I think including the quarries up here was a good idea, because again, I think it would be hard to get with the topography up there, septic's in there.
So
The property owners were surveyed though, Sherry. I mean,
They-
I want to make
They
sure
were
that we're not,
asked if
we're
they
not
wanted to
contradicting
be
ourselves.
included or not, and the only ones I think that opted in was the Saddle Club. And that's not technically residential.
So,
Are you talking about the original survey that was given out years and years ago in
We're talking-
88, 89?
No, we're talking like 15 years ago.
Service area was approved.
but I'll ask Tom this. For the sake of this line here, these properties are out, these are in.
That's
That's
vacant
undeveloped.
And I understand, but I'm just saying, why not just make this whole thing square?
land. Yeah.
Does it benefit us today or does it not? Or should we just leave it the way it is?
You know, I mean, preferably, from my standpoint, it comes from the planning standpoint, you know, what do you want to do with, you know, what's the vision for these lands? And this case, those existing lots, you're clearing the hurdles for the approval process is the benefit.
Faster.
It's faster.
So
yes.
today.
You're
this
expediting,
property-
you're
this
expediting.
property could get, if, say there was a sewer line, they could get sewer and this property could not. Even though they're probably, I mean, they're relatively the same elevation.
Based on the 208 process I described with sewer pack, yes, they could. I mean, yeah, if you put a pump in there and pump it all the way down to 164, they could get service. But one or two lot like that, if that were to happen, they could do a letter amendment requesting to be added.
Is that long? I mean, what's that gonna take versus just putting them in today?
It's a lot more efficient if you put them in. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
It saves $5,000. That's what it costs. Because by the time you dink around with the letters and everything else, even though it's gonna take nothing more than a letter and a discussion with somebody, it's more efficient. Square or straight lines are a lot more efficient than all this up and down sawtooth stuff. And which is one of the reasons why in these other areas we have the problems we have today, because, well, this one's in, this one's out, this one's in, this one's out. And that's costing people a lot of money right now today. It's more efficient from a money standpoint, from a planning standpoint, to put them in.
Well, that's kind of what Mark's point was, and I think my point was, why wouldn't you just square off
Mhm.
these lines then? Why wouldn't you square off Hillside straight down and Plainview straight across, so you don't have to do an amendment, even if it only takes 3 or 4 days? Why put the property owner through that? Plus, if this is a school owned by the school district and everyone's talking about increased density at Sussex, that could potentially be a school in 10 years. They're gonna need sewer, they're gonna need water.
That's already in the sewer area.
Well, right, but if you're gonna run sewer anywhere along these properties that you're not including, then it
But
creates an
those-
extra step for the homeowner to have to hook up if
But
they
those
want to.
properties might be deep enough that they could be wavered out too.
But they could also
Could
be
be, but-
divided. So what if
Right.
those property owners who have 5 or 10 acres want to subdivide their
Then they could
properties
ask to be
because they
included at the time.
they want to be next to the school? I think part of it is we're banking on property owners never moving and never selling.
And
And
that's
it's-
dying. I'm
Yes,
sorry, I
And it's-
say it because somebody's got to.
properties change hands, whether you believe it or not, and people's philosophy changes. And this is just a planning effort. It doesn't mean everything's gonna be put in sewer tomorrow. It's a planning effort to capture all of those activities in the future. And then we won't have to sit here and argue in 12 years from now when somebody wants to put a new subdivision right next to the new school. It's a planning thing.
So square it off
Hey.
along Plainview
I would just say
and then.
everything in the village area to the south of Plainview, why don't we just incorporate into the planning area?
And even on the east side to this,
Right.
everything.
Probably want to include the Public Works building as well, I'm sure. If there ever were to be a structure built there, or if we improve the fire station, you'd probably want them the option to hook up the sewer as well.
And that's, yeah, to my point,
Yeah, the intent.
everything in the municipal boundary south of Plainview, why can't we just include and plan for it? The practicality of it ever going there is very minimal,
Right.
but the planning ahead of time, to
It's
Jane's
important.
point, is
Cleans it
important.
up. The other liability that you have is this is subject to Sussex doing the submittal on your behalf. It's subject to sewer pack approving it in the future. If you do it all as one, you're dressing it all together. If it starts to become little pieces here and there, those are just additional decisions that
Right.
have to be made.
I mean, I'll throw this question out there. As of right now, even with the proposed change, Songbird Hills Golf Course, it could develop into residential, but it's not in the current area or the proposed area. What would that look like if that property owner wanted to sell and make it residential? I mean, are they gonna be wishing we had done this for them?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Brian, you wanna say that again?
Yeah, look at Silver Spring Country Club
Exactly.
I mean,
or Blackstone in Germany.
I think I'll go back to Jane's point. Where does the planning stop? I mean, why not why not just go all the way to County Highway Q on the north end? I mean, where is the right area to stop with the planning?
Well, what we've tried to do with your physical sewer capacities is that balance. We tried to balance what was, with the infrastructure that's already in, the 15-inch that's already in that capacity with the area that we generated flow for you on. So the capacity of that pipe is 1.6 and we've generated about 1.6. Now, those are just estimates. So if you change these boundaries within reason, that's okay. But that'd be the reason why you maybe wouldn't want to go all the way to Q. Again, it goes back to your planning vision, this is where Orange should take it over here. Cause
Yes.
we can, all it takes is money, for infrastructure to serve areas.
I brought up the existing land use plan, and I think the reason to not go further north, or at least it would be a larger policy decision to decide to do so. That area is currently planned as rural, as shown in white here. And so this is the most contiguous and largest area of rural planned land in the village. There's a smaller amount in the northeast corner of the village. There's some small pockets in other areas of the village, but this is the largest contiguous chunk. And that's been that way, large tract agriculture in that area. It's kind of the last vestige of that in the village. So that's just north of where we're looking at. The rest of this is in, the urban area and has densities associated with it that could be changed. The one thing I wanted to point out in this area 3, the most significant is the mixed use, which is the only place that exists in the village. And it's off of 164 in the middle of this area that we're talking about. And that's where the former town center, now village center, was planned to be located. And that's in the current area.
No,
If we go back to the map,
that's what the student study.
that's in the current served area.
No, that was just a student study that you don't.
The other significant thing is that there was quite a bit of density planned on the quarry parcel. It's showing as high density and medium density. And I don't know if there was ever a plan for some type of, development of that post quarrying. But the land use plan shows that somebody had something in mind at some point. since there's those densities associated with that. So those are the two kind of significant areas from a planning standpoint within this area 3 that we're talking about.
Warren, the capacity that you determined at 1.6, what land use designation or how do you determine the flow for the Genesee aggregate parcel?
That we had assumed low density residential. You know, maybe Mark, to get back at your earlier question is why wouldn't you? Well, again, there's a 20-year planning horizon, and my recommendation would be to square this off. You know, per the discussion, it's close to the capacity what you have. This is a lot of area to develop, you know, in 20 years even. So, you know, if the vision is of the village to go beyond that, that all can be revisited at a later date. You know, I think some of the discussion there has been good about, do you just square off these little lots? Yeah, you know, I would recommend, yes, you do that. It expedites the planning process. Sewer PAC appreciates that. You know, they'd rather just administrate. They're getting all these through the whole Southeast Wisconsin. So they appreciate it administratively. They review it. They go through their process. It can take up to a year. So those are all reasons you want to do it. And it costs money, as Joe had alluded, to do that each time. So I think my recommendation, or I don't know if you agree or not, but is to square off these areas, and sounds like you have some higher density areas that have been contemplated in the past. You're going to go through your comp plan process. You'll be able to hit this in more detail then. I mean, for us, and you're gonna see all this again in a summary report. We have to do a public hearing. This is a step in the process. It'd be nice if you came to a consensus now on what I just described as squaring this off. And it just advances the study that much further, so.
Talking square off the purple section or square off all the pink?
To the east of 164 and south of Plainview. Is that correct?
That includes Songbird.
Subdivision, not the golf course.
Yes, so, can you go back to the last one, Lauren? Yep. So like this is rural right now. We would be squaring it off to include it, but directly across the street, which is recreation, we are not including it. So that, I mean, that's one thing to consider is what, you know, in the spirit of doing this, why are we including a rural agreed upon area in that? And then we're leaving this, which is recreation, could be developed like what Brian said. This could be exactly like what Silver Spring Country Club did. So
That's all wetland.
I'm just saying, I don't think that'd be developable.
I don't know.
That's not developed. I mean, it's a wet, it's.
Most of this area you're talking about is probably not developable.
Sure, but it's not serviceable either in practicality. So, and that's the balancing test that I think we're responsible for.
You don't want, because the gun range is there and you don't want to deal with the lead and all the other stuff that's gonna go with that.
Well, the gun range is
Gun range on on hillside.
Hillside Post.
I'm talking 164.
This is what. I mean, it's gonna be refined to a certain extent when we go through the comp plan process, because it's going to take into account things that aren't being taken into account today. And be tweaked, but just because Songbird is a golf course today doesn't mean that, as you alluded to, Silver Spring Country Club, Western Lakes Country Club, and soon to be probably west of there is gonna be housing anyway. So I mean, nothing is permanent.
So there was a question about costs. So there's a cost to do this today. If you have to come back and include additional areas, is it just as much to do the second as it is the first? If you included all of it in the first one, is it the same cost?
No.
Or is it more money the larger area you have?
Jane, go ahead.
So I'm working through this myself right now. They're charging us $125 to do the overall plan for sewer service area planning. But then they're charging you much, much more to do the smaller amendments. And
Who's they?
they're raising the sewer pack.
Sewer pack.
So
Sewer
the
pack.
whole total cost is
For a reason,
$125.
because
And who's,
To
and
do an
who's,
overall service area planning, they're charging less because communities have waited too long to come and do their full out planning for their
So then
sewer
basically.
service.
Way of
not really planning
encouraging
cost
communities to
this,
do
because
these big-
$125 is nothing.
Right, so this is where they want you to look at your whole community.
Right.
So if we don't
Encourage.
include this large portion of
Yep.
residential, in 15 years down the road, they decide to include it. Who's ever on the board at the time could decide to,
No, what they're saying is they want to go through this effort now in the next couple of years. And then down the road, they're going to be charging communities much, much more for it.
to dissuade them from not doing it now. Nothing gets cheaper.
and today, whose bill is that? The communities as a whole?
Yes.
So just say we exclude Songbird Hills today, and I'm not by any ways telling people what to do with their land. They then decide they want to sell it because 164 becomes a 4-lane highway and it's now, there's people wanting to change the land use. They now want to develop it. Who pays for that then? Is that the community or the landowner? If they want to change it and become included in this area?
I don't know that answer necessarily. I think that's kind of up to the community.
Part of the
Just
developers agreement was going to end up.
if you're just gonna do like
Charge
one
back-
property,
Excuse me.
that might be something you could give to a developer, but I think if you're going to include more lands in your community, then I don't know if you could do that.
And that was the initial discussion we had at Public Works is, do we want to do a small amendment that costs more money? Or do we want to do a larger amendment that I think was $100? Because of what you just said, they encourage people to do this. So it would be a policy decision whether if somebody wanted to go in later and amend it, do we do a professional fees reimbursement? Do we put it in the developer's agreement? But it makes a lot more sense, in my opinion, to do it now than to go back later.
They're
If
encouraging,
we're making a decision with money involved here, I think it's really a smart decision to include properties that could be, but likely never will.
well, and to Tom's point, if they're looking for a 20-year planning effort, you want to be a little cautious, but it certainly isn't ever going to get any cheaper to do this than
Sure. And
on the
then,
sewer pack end.
and in reality, say we do square off over here, it actually makes sense to include this because this could develop here and change more likely than an established subdivision.
And you may even want to just do some area.
And you look at this here, this is excluded, this is on hillside, and this is a farm right now. That's could easily change because this just changed around it.
I mean, again, Tom was asked, Tom McLaughlin, he was asked and he
they don't
didn't, he
have that
did not
much
want
land.
to.
They
be-
have very little land over there now.
Well, I think it's this rectangle,
Yeah,
right?
so that's excluded.
He opted out.
But in 20 years, that, I hope the person's around, but that landowner may change by then.
Didn't he opt out almost 20 years ago? I mean, when
Yeah.
was the, yes, was.
Yes, they opted out.
2008, so.
All the as I said, I was here at the time involved in this. All the residential properties were purposely excluded from the sewer service area that was approved with Sussex when they approved that.
But they could have opted
They were
in.
given the option
They
to
could've-
opt in, and like I said, the only ones I think that opted in, which technically is isn't residential, was the Saddle Club.
So Tom, let's kind of, I want to get somewhere here. So if we have this 1.6, however, how many gallons per, whatever.
MG, yeah.
If we box this off and we include Songbird, are you concerned that goes past that
No.
number?
No, I'm not concerned.
Talking Songbird or Songbird Hills?
Both.
Okay, I just want to understand.
Because,
what-
yeah, Mark's pushing for the golf course as well, so I just want to make sure.
I think-
down at the compost site too.
I mean, I guess I would stay compost out because we don't have any idea that they're gonna reclaim that or be required to right now.
That, I do the inspection there and they said, She said the reclamation is years and years out, that they still have a lot of area to quarry there.
Yeah.
It's 40, 50 years before they redo that.
I guess just so we
Gravel
can,
pit.
to Matt's point, get somewhere. Bring the proposed line east of 164 to include essentially everything south of the Bark River there on the north of Songbird Hills subdivision. And then square it off with the existing village limits on Plainview. I mean, even,
Doesn't matter if it's gotta be pumped or not, if there's gonna be like a little pocket of pumping here and then nothing and then pocket of pumping.
Not for this effort. I don't think it makes a difference.
I mean, so I think, yeah, practically, you might not want to do it, like we won't want to do it, but to Jane's point, that, if we include it, we don't have to go that route and include it, when we actually put pipe in the ground, or if there's actually put pipe in the ground.
I think that's a great idea.
I think looking around, there's at least 2 or 3 people that are hesitant about that, but it looks like there's clearly a majority that are in favor, so. I think that's the direction to go at this point with 3.
Okay, so square it off on the east side at Plainview, come up, capture the east side of 164. To the depth of Songbird.
yeah,
I wasn't following.
Can you go back to this,
Subdivision.
Orin, can you go back to the,
To that easterly boundary and then bring it south, yeah.
no? We have. Okay. Bring.
Yeah.
So you're boxing this all off, putting all this, and you're including this guy up here.
Okay,
I just want
Yes, yeah.
what, also to, I'm having Orin look at something right now, also to address that, kind of where the tornado went through, yeah, there's a new subdivision back there, but then there's a parcel east of there. I thought that went to Sussex on the incorporation, but no.
Is that owned by the association?
It's where like Wildwood,
That sounds familiar from what they were saying when we went out and met with them. I'm not sure if it is or not, but that's.
southeast.
Yeah, it said Woods Trust.
Municipal boundary, yeah.
Yeah, it's a trust, so.
Woods.
I thought if that parcel ever developed, it was to go to Sussex. I could have swore
Our
that,
boundaries are set now, aren't they?
I know that
There's one last.
Right.
I thought that the property was gonna get a sidewalk, cause we had talked about a sidewalk
Probably
going
just pump
here
right
and then
down the
here.
bug line anyway, you know, if.
Yeah, that would have been in 2023.
Yeah, years ago. Mhm.
22, 23.
Yeah.
With 3.
It's 55 acres.
So we're done with 3, but Mark, I mean,
I think I got it.
do you, I just looking for this.
Yeah, I'm just making sure we don't need to, cause I thought that parcel upon development was going to go to Sussex.
We're gonna put the municipal boundaries, I think, on the next version of these maps once they're redone.
Get the border
With
agreement.
stripey color.
Mark, and I'll let you know.
All right, so 4 and 5, I think will go pretty, I mean, very quickly.
Optimistic.
All right.
One question, is there such a, this is a dumb question, is there such a thing as incorporating too many properties?
No,
Okay.
I mean, beyond the 20-year horizon, like we talked about before, yes. Within the realm of this area we're talking about, no, yeah, there's plenty of capacity.
So for area 4, the question is, this is an existing area. Do we go anything to the south or to the north? Or is that the only question we have here?
Yeah,
Yes.
I guess I'll go back a few years ago. There was a request from the property owner to look at this area north of in sections and it wasn't in at the time. I don't know. I didn't handle that. I think that was still the sanitary at the time.
Yeah, it came in front of the planning commission.
Did it go in? Okay.
Yeah, I watched the meeting after the fact. Dan and I talked about that in the last week or so. They were just here for conceptual plans and they were told really that that the village or town at that point, did not want them to develop without it being on sewer. I don't know how that was done when it wasn't sewer served, so I'd be uncomfortable with making that same conclusion today. So I guess the question is, how many people on the Pond Commission recall that from 3, 4, 5 years ago?
Remember it.
I remember hearing you on the meeting when I went back and listened to it. So where do we want, so I guess the question is, do we want to go further to the north?
Or did the,
Rural property, north?
Newman was interested in the Boyd parcel. We had a concept review.
Just the eastern portion.
Just the eastern portion. That's the only development proposal that I can recall that we've gotten
That's the one we're all referring to.
in that area, yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
There's other stub roads that go up to that?
There are several, yeah.
Yeah,
There's only one that's not into a wetland.
Couple of them, one for sure is into a wetland, the others,
Right on the edge.
probably real close, yeah, so. But then you have, some other stubs, further east of that as well.
Where is the bug line in relationship to those, where the V is there? Is that where the bug line goes through?
It's south of Good Hope, about 2
Okay.
blocks.
So that area is served by the red northeast interceptor, and you have plenty of capacity in that line. So that this is where some of the transfer capacity could come from.
You're
So,
talking-
so adding any lands here is not a capacity problem.
So you're talking take that all the way up to North Lisbon?
That doesn't make any sense to me, but not a lot of what we've been doing right now is making tons of sense to me, so.
I would run it up to where the V is on Town Line Road and up to that north property line there. I wouldn't run it any further north.
Yeah, when you get further north of that, we do have properties that are being shown as rural as far as our density. So the properties that abut the south side of North Lisbon do have that designation currently, but to the south of that does not.
And these are all collector sewers.
Yeah.
There's
doesn't matter.
there's no yeah, so I wouldn't recommend going any further in the north than that anyway.
I'd go up to that line that right where the kink in the railroad tracks is all the way over and include those 3 lots, and that's what I would do. I'd just square it off there, go up one more lot and leave it.
I'm not following you.
So.
Right here,
Okay.
So,
right here, right across. See where the V is? Run that line over to the railroad tracks and include that. And
This is a Boyd property, isn't
right,
it?
yeah.
Okay.
The Boyd property does extend to the west side of the tracks as
Yes,
well.
a little bit.
That's all wet there, so
Mhm.
they split in property lines.
That's primary environmental corridor.
right, and there's no access to it.
Yeah, I didn't put that.
Green access.
Yes.
Okay.
For the record, Sewer Pack does not want sewer extensions into environmental corridors. They're very against
You
it.
can't split that
Whole
up.
section three.
It's putting property lines. I don't know.
You can do 5 acre density.
This
Not
goes fast.
super dense.
Five-
So then the south is.
The whole thing is environmental.
I hope it
No,
does.
this is all wetlands. This is all,
So then on the south
here.
end, do we want to talk about the south?
that's why I said.
Yep, that's it, and then we're,
And then, I don't know if you just want to include the squared off on the bottom to, add to the existing down to the blue dash line.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Okay.
I would.
So be it. God, we're getting more efficient at this. Wait till we get to focus area 64.
Oh, geez.
I tell you, we're gonna be able to read by phone.
So focus area 5, are we ready to?
yeah, Dan, I mean, you wanna kind of share what you kind of concluded here recently?
Well, we're working with Strand to extend water to these areas with Land and Stone. And the conversation came up in the initial discussion of whether we wanted to also discuss sewer. extension. We were looking at potentially the cost of doing both and seeing if Land and Stones would be able to cover the cost for both. They can't. The cost came in a little higher than we anticipated. We had the discussion at, I believe, Public Works and Village Board and whether we wanted to do sewer and water. They were in agreement that we would do just water at this point. So if it really, in my opinion, makes no sense to look at this as part of this sewer service amendment at this time, because we're opening up the roads to put water, and what are the odds we're gonna then 5 years later open up the road to put sewer? And with Highway K project coming along too, they're probably not gonna be keen on us putting sewer in after the fact anytime soon. So something to think about. You guys can discuss and determine that on your own.
I mean, does anyone disagree with that logic?
No.
No,
No.
I don't.
Tom, that was pretty clear to you?
Perfect.
I think, yes, I understood. I followed.
Okay.
Go forth and walk.
Or do you agree?
Go get some meat time.
Yeah. Don't worry about us, Don. Go ahead.
Yeah, go get some meat.
Oh,
Can I say something though? I just,
Yeah, go ahead.
Ian and I talked about this, I think after the last meeting. I personally think it might be short-sighted. I know everyone's into the developing and having new homes and all sorts of things, but we have a lot of subdivisions in our area that are really quite old. And I don't know at this purpose if we should start thinking about Lindale Farms, if we should start thinking about Mountain Shadows, if we should start, these subdivisions that are quite old. And they're gonna be needing something is gonna be happening, because like you say, sewer, septics can't last forever.
Yeah, I totally get what you're saying. I think we did address that at the last meeting though, in the sense that I'll take the first one you said, Lindale Farms.
Two,
Yeah, like east and west.
no, East and Lindale Farms.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so like over by the raceway, that line kind of got weirdly bisected through the middle of the subdivision where the racetrack used to be,
Mm-hmm,
just because it was impractical to service
The gravity.
based off
issue.
gravity.
mm-hmm,
So that's why that one kind of divided up.
okay,
But Mountain Shadows, I think, was different logic because of the gravity there as well. So
Yeah.
that line was based on the where could be gravity fed down to 164 in Lisbon.
so was, with, Wooded Hills ever passed, because they have a lot of that in there, and that was all passed. So I'm just a little confused as for the difference. That's what I can't understand.
Well, I lived in Lindale Farms East, and I can tell you right now that subdivision is problem for replacement systems.
Yes, I agree, I've heard too.
And the other one isn't much better.
Yeah,
No, we just drew the line around in Kathleen over there where the hills are, so
yeah,
maybe we could include it.
yeah. I just thinking, even think about, and not to go that far, but I'm just saying, there's even Norwalk, which is older homes. Maybe not as old as these other ones that we're talking about. I just think we might be short-sighted myself by not just including them for simplicity purposes down the road.
Well, Lindale Farms and Lindale Farms East is not going to go to Sussex. Go to some other place.
I think that's a long ways away in the sense of,
That's the way God made the land out there, and it's not going east.
I don't think it's going south either. I mean, there's nothing across Highway 16 at this point.
So I think it's a good thought, Linda, but it's out in the middle of nowhere. That's why I moved.
It's so funny. We had newer homes in our area and we got sewer. And this is what I find really, strange personally.
Nothing ever strange
We had a
happens in
14-year-old
Lisbon.
house that we had to go on sewer. And it's just strange when I'm concerned about the older homes and.
I think you're the exception in the north.
No,
I've
no,
heard
no,
from
no,
nobody
no.
who's had no,
No,
for,
around us, we have newer homes. like our age of our home now, but now it's an older home, you know.
But I'm just saying, I've heard more horror stories of basement damage from backed up sewers than I've ever heard of septics going.
I mean, I think in the interest of the next meeting, we could, if we need a further discussion, I think it'd be prudent to carry it over to another meeting, but,
I just had to bring it up.
no, and I don't think the discussions are final here. This is just to give direction to
Mhm,
staff and consultants to do what we need to do.
mhm.
So Mr. Chair, I'm fine from the Public Works side.
So is everyone, we're all set? Anything else need to be said? If not, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion to adjourn the meeting.
Motion from, okay, all right. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll,
All right, so Joe, and then Sean seconded.
Joe and Sean?
Yep.
Done.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion unanimously carries.
At 7:06. For those of you who are on Zoom, if you are interested in the Plan Commission meeting, that is a different meeting link. That Plan Commission agenda can be found on the agendas and minutes page of the village's website.
Good meeting.
This is just, you guys aren't.